All right, let's talk about buses in Pro Tools. So I actually got this topic request recently to talk about buses and how they work and how to set them up, how to get them to cascade, stuff like that. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And first, I just want to define what a bus is. So a bus is a form of internal routing. So whenever we route from one location to another within Pro Tools, that's going to be a bus. So in that sense, buses are virtual. They're internal. They're within the software, within the computer. They don't leave the computer necessarily unless you route them to an output. And so one fun thing about buses is that you can route multiple signals to the same location. So buses can be really good for creating submixes. So for example, if you want to send multiple signal sources, multiple tracks to the same location and then control the levels there, that's an example of how you might use a bus. You can also use buses to route multiple signals to the same effect. So for example, maybe you want to route a bunch of stuff to a reverb. That's another good example of when we might use a bus. And we talk about buses being internal, buses being within the software. But for example, our master fader uses a bus that is then routed to an output. So it's often routed to like our output 1, 2, or output left, right, main out, left, right. There's a few different things that your computer might assign to it or name it depending on your settings within the software. But that's a good example of a bus that is then ultimately routed to an output. So buses can lead to something external, but in general, we think of them as an internal thing. So in Pro Tools, we often create a bus in the form of a send. So if I go to one of my audio tracks here, let me use these examples. So these audio tracks are actually routed out for printing a mix, which is something that I did in a previous video, but I'm going to just route them back to their main output. So this top panel is the input, this bottom panel is the output, but we also have sends. So there are sends here. It says sends A through E. If you don't see this here on your edit window, then you can go to this drop down over here on the left and you can click it and activate it. So you can see we can have another bank of sends if we want as well. I just have the one displaying right now. And you can also see these sends if I do command equals and switch to the mix window, you can see them here. And so this is the same exact sends A through E panel as we see in the edit window. They're linked. It's the same exact panel. And if you don't see your sends, you can click this drop down here on the bottom left, and you can do the same thing to hide or display your banks of sends. And so with a send, what we're doing is we're basically creating a copy of the signal and we're sending it elsewhere. We're sending it to some other location. So we often use buses when we're creating a send. A bus is a component of the send. So that differs from an insert, right? Where we might have the signal coming down and it's going through effects, after effect, after effect. It's all one path. Whereas with a send, it's like a fork in the river. We're making a copy and we're sending it elsewhere. So if I, for example, want to create a send on this Vox channel, I could go to a bus and I could pick a bus that I might want to use. So maybe I'll use bus 2324 because it looks like that's not used. And now I've created a send. If I option click on this, it'll bring it up to 0. So now it's going to send some signal out there for me. And so this is the more manual way that you might use a bus to create a send to do something in Pro Tools. So I've created this send. Now it's making a copy. It's sending it elsewhere, but I have not told it where to go, right? It's just a dead end at this point. So what I can do is do Command Shift N to create a new track. And I might make, for example, a stereo aux input to create an effects track. So maybe I'll make this like my reverb. And now what I have to do is I have to tell Pro Tools what to set for the input for my reverb channel. So I can just match it. I can go bus, what do I do, 2324. And so now it's receiving the signal. And if I then add my reverb, I am good to go. So maybe I'll just pick one. What do I want? I'll do the stock one that comes with Pro Tools. So I can add my deverb. I like to bring up the gain when I do it, so it's not reduced. So now I've effectively created a send that's using bus 23 and 24 to route audio to a reverb track. So that's a good example of how we tend to use buses within Pro Tools. So I wanted to show you step by step how to do this so that you understand how it works, right? You create the send, use a bus to do that, make a track that receives that send, that bus, right? And then you add your effects and do whatever you want to do with it. That is how it works, but there is a faster way to do this. So if you go to create a send, you might normally go to pick your bus, but if you go new track, it'll prompt you to name the track. So I might go reverb 2 here, and I'm going to keep it in samples because audio is in samples. I'm going to keep it a stereo aux, right? And I'm going to have it create next to the current track. So I'm going to hit create, And you'll notice it created it right here, reverb 2, and it actually created a new bus for me. So if I go look at my bus list here, it actually added a bus at the very bottom here. So it's not like it's looking for an unused one here. It's actually adding a new bus for you and naming it after your track. So you don't have to manually rename your track. You don't have to deal with picking the same number. You don't have to deal with creating the track. You then just might want to add your plugin or do whatever it is that you're going to do. So I just option clicked to copy that plugin over onto this track. So this is a much faster way of doing things, and it has the advantage of automatically creating and naming things. But just keep in mind, you can rename your buses too. So you right click and go rename, and I can now name that like reverb, right? And you'll notice as soon as I renamed it, it matches it over here. My settings right now are for my buses to default to negative infinity. So I'm going to option click on this to bring that one up to 0 as well. So this is the second reverb that I created. So another thing you can do, let me select these 3, actually I'll do 4 audio tracks. Now, if I hold Shift, Option, and Command, and then I click to add a bus, actually let me do it down here so I don't overwrite these by accident. And I'm going to pick a bus. I'm going to pick 11, 12 because we'll see the numbers here because it's 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and then parallel. Let's see what happens here. So I'm going to click 11, 12. And you'll notice it cascaded it. So now it's 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, parallel bus. So that's because I have all of these track nameplates highlighted. It created a send on all the tracks that I wanted it to create a send. I highlighted the nameplates for the tracks I wanted to have it affect. And I did that shortcut. So Command, Option, Shift, and then click to add a bus to the first track within your series. So that's how you can cascade inputs when you're creating multiple buses. So that's good if you, for example, want to send each of these tracks to a different location and you want them to be in series. So I'm going to do Option Shift, and I'm going to click on this and go no send, and it's going to take off the send that's in that location on each of these tracks that are highlighted. And that brings up the idea of doing the same send on all of these. So let's say I want to send all of these to the same reverb, for example. I can do Option Shift and click, and I can choose my bus. So I can choose the existing reverb, for example. I could choose a new one and create a new one. Let's choose the existing one. And you'll notice that since I was holding Option Shift, it's doing all of the tracks that I have selected here. It's adding the reverb to, and I'm still holding Option Shift. I'm going to click on this to bring it to 0. So since I was holding Option, it brings it to 0. And since I had that keyboard shortcut held down, the Option Shift keyboard shortcut, it did that to each of these. So if I, for example, I was selecting this one when I did it, if I click here and then I do Command Z, you'll see that it undoes it because they all started at the negative infinity. So I'm going to do Command Shift Z to redo it. And so again, that's that Option Shift shortcut to do the same thing, the same bus, the same send on all of the tracks that you have highlighted. So it's whatever tracks you have the nameplates highlighted for. And so I already showed you how to rename our buses, right? We can right click and hit rename. I can name this Reverb Cool, whatever you want. That's so nerdy. Why did I do that? Reverb Cool. So you can rename things here within the workflow, within your mix window or your edit window. If I do Command equals, you can see that I can do it the same way over here. I just right clicked, Reverb, yeah. So you can rename them here within the software. This is how I tend to do it. But you can also go, if you go to Setup and then I/O, you can find all your buses here on the bus tab, and you can rename them here as well. So if you want, you can organize things. Mine's a bit of a mess right now, so it's a bit chaotic, but you can always rename things here. So for example, if I want to rename, where's that our reverb? Reverb, yeah. So here's our reverb, yeah. So I can just double click on this and I can rename it Reverb A, for example. And now it's renamed. I hit OK. And it'll reflect it down here. So you can dig into your I/O settings, that's input and output, and mess with your buses here as well. And similar to when we went to add a bus and then chose new track instead of choosing from the bus list, you can add buses here to your list. So if I go new path, I can make a stereo bus and I can name it whatever I want. So I could be like delay. I'm just going to add like a number after it because I think I might already have a delay here. So I'm going to hit delay 3, and there it is. It's a new bus. It's an option within my buses now. So you can always add paths here in the I/O. And if you want, you can customize this to exactly what works for your workflow. So you can make yours a lot prettier than mine. And once you have these exactly how you want them, you can actually save them as a template so that you can import them easily if things ever get messed up. So for example, I can do export settings, and I'll just do like Cato test 2025 September 23rd, just so I remember when this is from. And I'm just going to hit save here. And so it's saved my IO settings. So if I now, for example, delete a bunch of these, that's fine. I don't care. I hit OK. Now I'm like, oh my gosh, all my stuff's gone. Everything's awful. What's going on? I go to add a bus. I don't have my bus options. I only have 5 options. I'm freaking out. You can always go, you know what? I exported everything when I had it exactly how I wanted it. So I'm going to go setup, IO. And so one thing that I like to do when I'm about to do this is I'll do Command A to select all, and then I'll delete everything. I'll just gut it. So Command A, and then I'm going to hit delete path, delete. I'll do this for input, output, and bus. And then I'll import it so everything's fresh and clean. And it should look prettier and more like how we had it before. So that's what I recommend doing if you're like, everything got messed up, what do I do? Just delete, Command A, delete paths, and once it's clean and empty, then import whatever you had saved. So this is something you can mess with, and then you can be very confident that if something gets messed up, if someone sends you a session that changes your IO settings, you can always restore it if you've done an export. Okay, so that's that. Another thing that I would recommend doing if you're making aux tracks and using sends, using buses with the aux tracks, is you can change your track color here by just double clicking on the color. That can also work if you do Command equals and you're in the mix window and you want to click on that color. And you can change the color, but I like to keep our aux tracks as this dark green. That's like the default, because it helps me then have visual separation from chunk of track, aux tracks, chunk of tracks, aux tracks. So that's something I've talked about in other videos. I won't really dig into it a ton, but let me know if you have any questions about that. That's something I recommend doing if you're doing this. Okay, so I think I might have covered most of what was requested of me for this topic, but let me know in the comments below if there's some detail of this that I didn't cover that you want covered, if you want any more detail on anything here. And as always, please like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Check out my Patreon. It's patreon.com/CatoNoise. We have additional content. We have a Discord server we're hanging out on. We are doing a book club on the Discord server. That's been a lot of fun. And if you want me to work with you on your music, please hit up my website. It's catonoise.com, and I have a Get Started button. You can click on that. It'll ask you a few questions about your music and then take you to a calendar where you can book a call that is actually with me. It's an actual Zoom call with me. So I will be waiting for you in the Zoom. Please show up if you do it. But it's a free, no obligation call. We can talk about your music, see if we're a good fit. So if you want production help on your music, if you want mixing and mastering help, please feel free to do that. And other than that, I come out with new videos every Wednesday, and thank you so much for hanging out. Okay. So I have a little black rabbit. She's my pet bunny. Her name's Olive. She's like 2 pounds. She's got like a little white dot on her forehead, and she's my baby. I'll put a photo of her on the screen so you can see her. But she has gotten so aggressive in the mornings about getting cookies. So she's free roam. She uses the litter box. I clicker trained her. She does a bunch of commands. She does more commands than most dogs. I'm pretty proud of her. But she has started hopping up on the bed. As soon as I start rolling around and like start waking up, or if my alarm goes off, she knows that it means I should be getting up or I'm about to get up. So she'll hop up, she'll literally climb on top of me and get in my face. And then she demands a cookie. So that's how I've been waking up for a while now. And it like kind of comes in waves. Sometimes she'll have a phase where she doesn't bug me immediately. And then sometimes she'll have a phase where it's like she's waking me up. And lately it's been more of the waking me up, which is, it's a nice way to wake up. I don't really mind it. And she usually waits until I'm like rolling around and starting to wake up anyway. So it could be worse. But that was my experience for the past however many days. And this morning, she woke me up this morning. But yeah, she's so cute. I love her. Okay, I don't know what else to talk about. So I'm going to go. I got to get ready for my next thing. And I hope you're all doing well. Bye.